So I've just come back from Synthfest yesterday. I've never been before. I didn't really know what to expect, but I confirm it was pretty amazing. And my biggest highlight was having to go to the Rhodes Mk8 piano. If you're not familiar with Synth Festival, it is a gathering of many vendors that display synthesizers from all around the world, and there was pretty much over hundreds of synthesizers that you were free to have a go of, and it was really cool. The atmosphere was perfect for what I'd expect. It was not very salesy, and vendors answered all your questions, but you're just free to have a go, have a play, and you could have like 5-10 minutes messing around with a synthesizer that you might be interested in, and that was really cool. So I'm going to have a run through some of the vendors and things I've played with, and then also talk about the Mk8 piano. I think I will try and go again next year, but there is a lot of ways to spend money there. I did take some videos on my phone, and because the audio is not great, I'm not going to include that in some of the clips I include. It just doesn't do the equipment justice, and there's a lot of noise in the background. If other people are playing things, I don't want to fall victim to YouTube's copyright. So to keep it clean, I'm just going to mainly cut the video out and talk over it and let you know what I thought about the equipment. So first up, we had the Mk8, and this is a really popular synth right now. There's a lot of hype behind it, and it did have a bit of a queue, but we kind of waited and we managed to have a go, and oh man, it's pretty good. Sound wise, it's everything I expected. It's got that meaty bass, vintage warmth, and I only had time to flick through some of the preset patches and apply, play with some of the filters, but from what I heard, it was really cool. One thing that really caught me off guard was how big it is. You kind of see all the controls when in photographs, but these are actually really spaced out. This is a big bit of kit. I was also lucky enough to have a go with a Prophet 5, and I do have a firm belief that more walnut means a better synthesizer, and this didn't really disappoint. Every time I pressed a key or a chord on a patch, it took me back to a song, or there's a reason these are so popular, and I could definitely find space for one. So next up we tried Summer Labs, and they had a Lyra and a Pulsar, and both of these were absolute chaos machines. I spent a good 10 minutes of each and only just touched the tip of the surface of what these units are capable of. It's so cool that you can kind of have a go and mess around with these synthesizers. These are synthesizers that I typically wouldn't normally mess around with, but going to a festival like this, you can have a chance, and I definitely warmed to them a bit. Pretty good fun. So next up is really summarises a bit of the mentality and the atmosphere of the synthesizer community. So let's imagine you're going to a synth convention and you've got to fly in an aeroplane and you're taking a synthesizer with you, and you want to make sure it gets there. You don't want to put it in the luggage. You want to carry it on, tick it on as carry on. Security go, what's inside this, and open it up. How would you explain this? How would you explain this? Well, this looks so cool. A laser controlled synth. If you want to put on a show, I don't think you can do better than this. This is like something out of Rick and Morty. It's so cool. Soundgas had a good display of some vintage instruments, and part of growing up and watching other people play and fall in love with different artists, you get to see what instruments and equipment they use, and often I'll only see these on Reverb or on eBay, and at a price that's just way out of what I'm willing to pay for a delay pedal. But it's great to see these up in the flesh, to know these are real, and to think a lot of these are hidden away in cupboards and lofts and not being used. It's good to see some out there. As much as we didn't get a chance to play with the Space Echo or the 808, I do appreciate seeing them, and it's a lot better than seeing them in a watch list. I think I spent about 4 hours there. I was constantly walking around, moving from room to room, trying different synths, and never once really went back and tried something twice. There was so much to do, and I can't cover it all. There was rooms full of Yamaha equipment, Korg had an entire room, Moog had half a room, there was ASM, Hydra synths doing talks. I really enjoyed playing with the Theremins, the Polybrutes, and the Polybrute was amazing. I had no idea how it works. but it creates some amazing sounds. It sounds so good. And I found with a lot of these synths, you can't really get into them. You just have a little go, have a play with the patches, and it just gives you a taste. It's a lot better than watching a video review, although a video review will give you that extra level of detail that you may want to research before committing to one of these. But yeah, that was so fun. And then finally, I found the Rhodes stand. And when I put my ticket, Rhodes were not confirmed to be attending, so it was great to see them show up last minute and confirm that they're coming. And it was really good to see them exhibit. They had a nice spacious corner of the octagon, and interestingly they also had a Chroma Rhodes synth alongside the new Mk8 prototype. And the first thing that struck me is that they're also exhibiting the legacy products, and it's good to see that the Rhodes brand being represented like that. It would have been easy just to have two Mk8 prototypes and push the product they're selling, but they're pushing the brand, which I think means a lot. Chroma was such a fun instrument to play. I managed to get some like cat-like meows out of it. As I say, you can only have a taste of these instruments, so I can't comment on its full capacity, but it definitely looked fun. And I think it wins the award for the most dark wood, which is an important award. So finally, I had to go with the Mk8 Rhodes. And if you follow this channel, I'm sure you know that I've been following the release of the Mk8 Rhodes for so long, and to finally have a go was such a good experience. I was pretty excited. So here's the first few chords I play. Not very exciting chords, but it's all good. And the first thing that really struck me is the action felt great. It didn't feel sluggish, it didn't feel sappy at all. It felt like how a piano action should feel. Now, it did still feel like a Rhodes, and you don't want to lose that either, so I think it was the perfect balance. It felt like a Rhodes, but it felt like I could play it for hours. So I think top marks there. Sound-wise, with all the effects turned off, it sounded exactly how I hoped. There was those warm, crystal chime-like sounds, plenty of dynamics. It was beautifully set up. I'd imagine most people that have ordered the Mk8 Rhodes won't have actually tried one, and that's a bit of a risk, but having played the prototype, I'm sure they're going to be pretty happy with what arrives if it's as good as this. For the effects, I can fully understand that some people probably don't want the effects or not necessarily are high up on their agenda, but having them all built in sleekly into the piano is such a nice feature. Like running pedals on top of the piano, it can be done, but it's not as good as having them all at your fingertips, ready to play, dial in. And these are all set up for the Rhodes, and you could hear that. Like it wasn't just like a drive that kind of removes the Rhodes character. It kind of enhanced it and then took it way beyond that. There's so many different sounds that you can get from this machine. Sadly, it didn't have the extended effects unit, and that's a little sad because one effect I'd really want to have a go of is the compressor, and I think that's one of the most underutilized effects for the Fender Rhodes, and to have one that's designed for a Rhodes piano, for that sound, I really want to see what it does. I was lucky enough to meet Dan Goldman, and he did a good display of what the Rhodes is capable of, showed off the effects. It's way beyond what I can do. It's such a good bit of engineering and achievement. I'm really proud of what the guys have done there. And as a first piano, as a stepping stone, it's such a high goal to come in with such a high-end product. And I think they've done a great job. It was so good they had the lid off. And I think for a lot of people there, that was the interesting point, that you could see inside and understand how the piano worked. Not a lot of people appear to have known how it worked and to seen inside of one before. And I think that's one goal of my YouTube channel, is to show off how these work, because that is where the magic is for me, along with that amazing sound. It's how it works, how it feels, and just the whole experience of it. I know there's been some grumblings about how much the piano costs, but I can't help but feel that we'll look back on this price and think, I probably should have bought one. It was a good deal back then. Like vintage Mark 1s and 2s are rising in price. They're getting out of control, and with these old instruments, they don't last forever. You can only strike a tine so many times and it breaks. And once a piano starts falling apart and fatiguing, what point does it become cost effective to kind of replace large amounts of it? Some of them can be full of mould, some of them can require years and years of work. I suppose it depends on what your circumstance is and what you can get hold of, but it's so good to see a new player creating quality instruments. It's definitely better for us as consumers. We've got Volanti, we've got Vintage Vibe, and we've got Rhodes, all creating amazing pianos. What a time to be alive.